guys, welcome to the Radiate Your Faith podcast. My name is Maddie Walco, and I'm a college softball player from the great state of Texas. And I'm so excited that you are tuning into the Radiate Your Faith podcast, where I hope you are encouraged to let the light of Christ shine through you in a way that allows people to see God through the way that you walk with Him. My prayer for you is that your faith is deepened, that it is strengthened, and that you are encouraged to radiate your faith. Hey guys, welcome to the Radiate Your Faith podcast. I am so excited that you are joining me for this week's episode. And y'all, I have a very special guest on the podcast, and I'm just going to go ahead and let her introduce herself to you guys.
Hey guys, I'm Ainsley. I'm a college student. I play softball. And that's one of the ways that I met Maddie. Her and I met at McLennan this last year. I was a freshman, you were a sophomore, but we clicked right away. It was so funny because I remember the first day of move-in, you came in and I had her room.
She had my room from freshman
where
year.
we stayed. Yeah. So, and after that, it was
just like besties, which, y'all, this is crazy. So the day I met Ainsley, I called one of my friends and I was like, okay, so I just met this chick. She's in my old room. And I'm telling you right now, like, we're going to be like best friends. Like, I knew from the day that I met her, we were going to be such good friends, which I'm so glad that we got so close. And I mean, it really wasn't hard because we were both POs, pitcher only, for those of you who don't know sports, but we would have to go get home run balls for our team when they were hitting. So we would be in like the trenches playing like, like leapfrog over the road because you have to go get balls.
Yeah.
We got close real quick. We would sit out there, we'd dance.
We'd do some line dancing.
We'd eat snacks. Sorry, Coach Barry. We'd eat snacks sometimes. Yes. But that was always like the best part of practice was like getting to like sit out there and talk because I mean we only pitch. So, but we got really close throughout the year and it's been so cool and such a gift to be friends with Ainsley. It's been so awesome.
Likewise.
So I'm so excited for this episode, but her and I both are just like, this is gonna be so fun. Because we have so much to talk about. And so the topic for today is going to be about Ainsley's story of how she came to Christ, which is, I love this story. And honestly, y'all, this is going to be so chill because we're just going to like literally tell you the story of this college station trip we went on, which is where everything kind of came together for her and where like God really captured her heart. So we're just going to do that today. It's going to be so great. And I hope you guys are along ready for the ride because it's going to be a lot. Yes. So I'll just kind of start the story off and we'll go back and forth. But this was in probably April, right? No, February. February. It was February.
Yeah.
And her and I both love going swing dancing, country dancing. We go all the time in college. Like, it's so fun. And so she was like, we should go dancing this weekend. And I was like, girl, we go to the same place over and over again. Because for me, I like trying new things. Mm-hmm. So I was like, girl, we always go to that place. I don't know. And I was like, what if we just like went to Harrington College Station? And she was like, huh? And keep in mind, y'all, we're sitting on a bench. And this is like
a table.
A table.
Like 3 actual
working legs is real.
Yeah.
Sitting on a table and
in the batting cages.
Because we don't hit, right?
Yeah. She was braiding my hair.
I was. It's so chaotic.
I know.
But it's true. So I was like, yeah, like, could we just like go to Harry's? And she was like, tonight, like after our game. And I was like, yeah.
Keep in mind, I'm a very spontaneous person and
I'm not.
She's not. And so for her to say this, I was like, are you like for real? Like, I had no idea like you actually wanted to go.
I didn't know either.
Yeah.
I was just like, we should go. And you were like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. And so we were like, okay, let's do it. So we decided we were going to go right after the game. And I'll let you kind of take over from here because it got a little interesting.
This is kind of where it gets interesting. So at the time, I was dating this guy. And I thought it was great. I thought things were going well. And then we decided to take this trip, like very last minute. And he did not take that very well. And it was very messy. So the whole time it was a lot of like manipulating and gaslighting and all these like really bad things that were said for all the wrong reasons. And I like just kind of felt like a really bad person for wanting to go. And she was like, no man
Oh,
should make you feel bad for wanting to go.
yeah.
Or should not like let you or want you to go have fun. And we were going to College Station to go to Harry's.
And
And
she's going with me.
I went with Maddie and
like, it's
all
gonna
of
be
her friends.
It's gonna be, which all my friends, the friends that came with us are from my Bible a
Yeah.
Bible study that I did in high school. So I'm like, what is he worried about?
Yeah.
Like, these are really good people.
But it just was like, it was rocky, it was messy, and like I was just getting my phone blown up the entire time. Like the drive back from the game,
Yeah.
the drive to our dupes, the drive to College Station, and while we were at Harry's.
Yeah.
And it was just so chaotic. And I was like, it was so like frustrating because I didn't know what to do and it wouldn't stop. And for me, it ruined so much of the fun that I think I could have had when we were there. And I wouldn't let myself have the fun because we love dancing. I love dancing. She introduced me to dancing.
You're welcome.
Yeah. She's the best partner.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah. So anyways, it was just kind of one of those things that just it took a turn for like the worse in the ways I wouldn't have expected it to. But it showed like true colors of that guy that I was with. But
y'all, okay. I did not like him.
Yeah,
okay?
she didn't like him.
Because the way that he loved her was not, like, he didn't really love her. Like, and that's kind of like going to be like a theme you notice throughout the story is he was very selfish, made it about him a lot.
Yes.
And she didn't know, like, she thought she was experiencing love, which I was like, that's kind of like what started the whole thing is like, girl, this is not love. Like, so we'll go more in depth with that later on in the story.
Yeah.
But so we end up getting to Harry's and we meet my friend Jacob there and his friend Henry. And we just have fun, we dance, and again, like, it's just like we sit and talk. Like, I haven't seen him in so long, and it's so fun. And then my best friend Tori showed up afterwards, and we sat around this table at Harry's, and your phone was still being blown up. And Ainsley was just like, guys, like, is this normal?
Yeah, I was like questioning everything. Well, and two, like even before we got to Aries, when we were driving back to the dupes after we got back from our game, she was just saying like, this is so selfish. Like, this is such selfish love, and this is not what you deserve. Like, you deserve something that's selfless.
Yeah.
And then when we got to Harry's and we sat down with everybody, and I was finally just like, is this what it's supposed to be like? Because I had no idea, and I was so naive. But if I wouldn't have known if I didn't experience this, and I wasn't there with you guys, because I was like, is this normal? And I practically asked four strangers,
my Bible study friends.
yes, for advice with relationships, which granted, I feel like you should never do, because I mean, not saying you should not do it, but almost like take their advice in a way. But for me, like their advice was like the exact same thing that Maddie was saying. And I was like, oh my gosh.
And y'all, those friends that were there are like some of the most like scripturally sound people. Like, they love the Lord. And I was like, because I kind of didn't want to say anything, because I'm like, I want them to, be the one to kind of just talk to her about it. Because I'm her friend. Like, I don't want her to be like, you break up with this guy, because that's not like, obviously I want her with someone great. I literally told you that last night. I want you with someone amazing. But I didn't like him because I knew he wasn't loving her right, and I didn't want to be the one to be like, girl, this is not love, which obviously I told her because I love her, like, I'm gonna tell her the truth, but I wanted them to kind of take the reins on that and just speak truth over you, which they did, and that was just so kind of them. I know they told me they were both pretty intimidated, but they were like, they didn't know you, but they cared about you, so they're like, we want to tell her the truth. So I was really kind to the both of them, for sure.
Yeah, because I remember sitting there and it was like a little awkward, because it's like, okay, well, I'm like asking people for like relationship advice that I don't know, but like I just needed so much transparency in that moment.
Sorry guys, I hit my elbow. Keep going.
I can just feel how bad that hurts.
Just keep going.
Anyways, but in that moment I just needed full transparency over the situation to make sure I wasn't going crazy. And just to kind of see what like an outside, like objective point of view kind of looks like. Because I kind of needed that reality check of like, this is what it's like, because I couldn't do it for myself. And obviously Maddie was trying to be the good protective friend and not try to be like, and overstep. Obviously you like, it's hard to know sometimes with those kind of situations, what overstepping looks like. Yeah. Because you never know how someone's going to react. And so I respect that, and I thank you for like wanting to like make sure that you're not crossing lines, but at the same time it was like you started it, and then Jacob and Tori just like fed it off exactly what she had told me like 2 hours prior to him being there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we ended up going home.
Yeah.
And we still stayed up. We slept on the air mattress in my best friend's apartment. It was so great. It was probably the worst night's sleep I've ever gotten. But we stayed up till 2 and we just talked about like what so if that's not love, what is?
Mm-hmm.
And so we had a conversation about it. And again, the main point was just love is selfless. It's not about you, like it's about serving one another.
Mm-hmm.
And so she listened and it was great and it was a really good conversation, and Tori chimed in a lot too, which y'all, you guys know Tori, like she was in the Everyone's Called a Ministry episode. She was one of the friends that was there, and she's awesome. So we did that. So then we go to church the next morning and we sit down, and I am so excited because I'd never been to Tori's church, and Ainsley's nervous because she grew up in a Catholic church. So she's like, this is different.
And it was a First Baptist church.
The First Baptist church in College Station. Yep. And so
I was like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what this is gonna be like.
Yeah.
But
okay, you got to share this part of the story.
Okay, so we walk into church. Obviously, her and I don't know anyone, but we're meeting a bunch of people, like all of Tori's friends and like the people that she attends church with. And I just had no idea what to expect. I think that was kind of it. But we go in, we talk to some people, and we sit down, and it was like they were just getting started. Like, had they worshipped yet?
No.
There was like just a screen on the stage that they had, and I just remember like, or no, I thought it was the pastor.
It was the pastor.
It was. He had came out, right?
He came out and he started the sermon.
Yes. And the very first thing that he said was, "Love is what."
Love is selfless.
Love is selfless. Yes. And Maddie was sitting to my right, and we like look at each other,
and you're like,
and we're like, our mouths drop, like they're just like wide open, and I start crying because I was like, if this is not the sign that I needed to like get out of this relationship, and a sign from the Lord like calling me to that, and just like reiterating what everyone else had been telling me, without me really having a close relationship with God at the time, was like one of the like it was one of those God winks for me, and it was just like the kickstart to my entire kind of like rebirth of my testimony and finding the Lord again, but in a completely different light. And it was such a cool experience, and I literally like sat there and cried the whole time because I just couldn't even believe what was like happening. And I remember you asked me if I was okay, and I was like, yeah, I'm just tired. And I didn't want to admit that I was crying because the first thing you said was that love is selfless. And it was one of the coolest things ever. And I think, we went through church and the rest of the service, and
it was great.
Had some delicious lunch.
Oh yeah, they had like, what was it, pizza rolls? But like the real kind.
Yeah.
Yes. So after church, we go get coffee with Tori, and we kind of sit and talk about the sermon, and Ainsley ends up we have a great conversation with her too. Like, you were just asking a bunch of questions like, okay, well, I grew up in the Catholic church. This is so different from like what I've experienced. And you were saying too, like you liked it because it didn't feel like a routine. Like,
like it wasn't like a job,
like go through the motions. It was like you felt like you actually learned something. And so you had so many great questions, and so her and I and Tori just sat and talked as she asked questions, and it was really great. And that's kind of one that sparked in her head that she might want to break up with this guy that hasn't been treating her right.
And I had never like thought that I was gonna like end things like that. I was like, no, like there's no way. Like there was nothing that crossed my mind that was like, I'm gonna end it. And then we went to College Station for the night, and I was like
boom,
entire 360. I was like, I have to.
Yeah. And so we ended up driving home, and we talked quite a bit on the way. We listened to some country music. Oh, that's so fun. And the closer we got, the more nervous she got because he was at her house.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, I don't even know what to say. And before she went in, I sat and I prayed over her.
I think I asked you to pray.
Yeah.
But like to pray over me.
Yeah. So we prayed about it before she went and talked to him. And from what I remember, it went pretty well, like talking to him.
It gave me a lot of closure on what I needed, kind of, I guess. Like, I mean, it was such a, like, I don't want to say it was a waste of time, but for me, like, there was honestly no point in doing it because my mind was made up. And I couldn't look at him the same after what had happened because it was pretty brutal, I would say. I've never had a guy treat me like that. And so I just was like, I can't. And her and I, the next couple of days, kind of went back and forth about what to do. I was so confused on what to do. Even though I was like, sure, I wanted to do it, emotionally, I didn't feel like I was ready.
Breakups are hard, y'all.
They are.
They're so hard.
Yeah.
Even when like the Lord is like talking to you, like the reason I was able to be so honest and so upfront about her relationship is because I'd experienced the same thing a year prior.
Yeah.
And so I'd already been through all that. I'd already been through all those emotions. And I remember after that guy and I broke up, I remember sitting and crying on my floor and being like, God, I don't understand. Like, I know I had peace that I needed to do it, but I was like, I don't get why you're doing this. Now I understand. And I think it's cool that he used that to help you and like lead you to him. I think that's so
But
cool.
he also led me to you.
Yeah.
Because I needed you in that situation.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know it. Like, I could have been somewhere else completely not even with you. And I could have an entirely different experience. But because the Lord called you and because you were my like one of my best friends, I think like that was exactly where we needed to be at the right place at the right time. But because of God.
God, so good. Yes. So okay. So then you and the guy ended up breaking up.
Yes. Like 3 days later, we came back on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Or no, yeah, we came back on a Sunday, like mid-afternoon. Wednesday, we're sitting in the car. And right before Wheats.
And you're like, I'm just gonna do it.
I'm just gonna do it.
Y'all, she's spontaneous. She was just like she's like, I'm just gonna break up with them. And I was like,
we'd like walk in. We'd like 5 minutes. We'd like walk into Wheats.
But before that happened though, I forgot.
Oh yeah.
So I called her because she was stressed about it. Do you remember? I read you 1 Corinthians 13.
Yes, you did.
I read her the like love is patient, love is kind. I was like, I just feel like I need to read this to you so like you hear it. And that was also really important too.
It was. Oh, it's a huge, huge, huge piece to I would say my testimony in a way. Because God is love, and without knowing what love is and what true love is, biblically, that it's hard to have a worldly love experience without knowing what love is truthfully. And I mean, she was like, Maddie's got some of the best advice. I mean, she was like, take his name, and everyone should do this. I think it's a good check for yourself too, because I even do this for myself every so often. Is like, take that person's name, take your name, and replace your name with love in 1 Corinthians 13, and make sure that you're checking those boxes.
So like, for Ainsley, it would be Ainsley is patient, Ainsley is kind. Like, put your name in that. I love that. Like, yeah. I forgot that I even said that.
Oh, but that was one of probably the biggest things that you told me. And that was honestly the one thing that I was like, that's it. Yeah. That's why I need to end things. Because he didn't fulfill those things. And like, that was probably the most important thing that you told me the entire trip.
Y'all, I didn't even know that. I'm finding this out right now.
Yeah. I would say that's probably what did it for me. Like, once you told me that, I was like, wow, that is like the truth of like love, and there's no going back on that. There's nothing that's more true and that can like be so present in that moment than hearing that and then just doing that like checklist almost.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Okay, so after all this happened, she breaks up with him. We go and get sushi at J Petal.
Oh yeah, wasn't this the same night? Was this after?
It could have been. It could have been. I don't know.
No, it wasn't. I don't know. Timeline's confusing now.
But so she's like, "Do you want to go get sushi?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" So I get in the car with her, and I just feel this huge tug on my heart that's like, "You need to share the gospel with her." And I'm like, do what now? I mean, I kind of already talked to you about Jesus, so I wasn't super intimidated, but I was like, okay, like I'll do it. Because I mean, y'all, I love her so much. I wanted to. So we go to J Petal, we sit and talk, and I like ask Ainsley, you know, the question of like, do you know if you're saved? Like, do you know where you're going? Like, if you died tomorrow. And so we kind of had that conversation, which it's different in the Catholic belief, because she's like, well, I don't know. And so I shared the gospel with her, and I was like, you know, it's not about what you do. It's about who God is. And that was so good. And I like shared with her, you know, like, it's a decision you have to make. I'm like, I'm never going to force you to make that decision, but like this is how you would accept Christ if that's what you decided to do. So fast forward to dancing. We go dancing, like this is like a week later.
Maybe.
Yeah. Because y'all, we love dancing. We go all the time.
Oh yeah. Her and I went
all the time. Yeah.
All the time. We started going on Thursdays, and our teammates didn't even know.
Surprise, Shawty.
Surprise, guys, and Coach Barry.
We would go on Thursdays.
Yeah.
But
anyways.
Yes. So I'm just talking to her, and I was like, so have you thought any more about that decision? And she was like, oh yeah, like I accepted Christ at like 1 a.m. in the bath, in the shower. And I was like, okay. Like,
it was on like a Friday night, and I was like, really, like, this was, I think, the week of the breakup. Like, this was the Friday, like, following that Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I was like in the shower at like 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like very convicted about everything. Like, it was such an overwhelming feeling, but I was so sure, like, after having that conversation with Maddie and that breakup ending and knowing how much peace I had with it.
Yeah.
Even though I was so, like, I had so much discernment about even doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
Was like a huge thing for me. And I was like, I've gotten this far, and I've been like, I've had so much wisdom and just truth spoken to me in the last couple of days. I'm like, this is kind of like my refresh. Like, this is my button to restart and just kind of like find the Lord again in a completely different and renewed life. Almost. And I was like crying in the shower. And I was like, okay, like, Lord, like, you are my Lord and Savior. I'm saved. And that was just like
so cool.
Yeah.
Yep. So fast forward. We're gonna have to fast forward quite a bit because the video's coming to an end. But so she accepts Christ. I start taking her to a Bible study with
Maddie leads me to the Lord.
Well,
yes.
She
plays a very, very, very large role in this, guys.
But it wasn't me. It was the Lord working through me.
It was.
And y'all, that's why I was gonna say this at the end of the video, but I just want you guys to know, like, it is so important that you listen to that tug in your heart that the Lord gives you, and that you choose to live out your faith every day, because it's so important. And I think our friendship's so cool because I just like told myself in the beginning, I'm just gonna love her, like, because I mean, before you came to Christ, you were a crazy girl.
I was.
She's a crazy girl.
I was not doing the best
I was
things.
like, I'm just gonna love her. Like, that's all I'm gonna do. And just, it like the Lord softened her heart, and all the pieces fell together. But it takes taking that step of faith and being bold and sharing your faith with people, because I could have just been scared and not done it at all.
That's true.
So yes, so all of that happens. We go to Bible study with Sherry Grimes. Shout out Sherry, we love you. I shout her out all the time. And then we go to this FM 72 event. Ethan asks. Ethan. Okay. Episode 3.
Yes. So Ethan and I went to high school together. He's one of my like greatest friends, like one of the most like loving person that I know. And like, I have so many good things to say about him. And I finally had the opportunity to introduce them because I knew that like they would get along. We have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
And so he invited us to this worshiping event at Baylor, the FM 72. And we were sitting in the prayer tent after the worship. And he was like, have you thought about getting baptized? And I was like, yeah. But I never like told anyone that. Like, that was for me, like, I thought about it, but I didn't really know where to like I was too scared to tell you. For some reason, I was like so intimidated.
Boy, no.
I know. But, and then when he said it, that was like, finally, like, my thoughts are being spoken.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, yeah.
And I thought about asking her too, but I was like, I don't know. I just like shared the gospel with her. So like, I was also a little intimidated. Like, obviously that's like the next step is like getting baptized, but I was like thinking maybe she would, I don't know, but Ethan, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ethan,
for sparking that.
Yes.
So she decided she wants to get baptized. She got baptized on April 2nd, 2023 at our church at Wellspring, which is where Julie sings. See how all the puzzle pieces are tied?
It all ties.
Julie's episode 2. And so she asked me if I would baptize her, and I literally bawled my eyes out. I was like, are you serious? Like, of course.
I honestly like thought that like there was no one else that could have done it, honestly.
So she got baptized. It was such a special day. And it was cool too, just like with her parents, her grandparents, our teammates.
Our team, yeah.
They came. Cool. So awesome.
Ethan came.
His
friends came.
Yep. And like, think of like, y'all, that's such a testimony to our team. And I think for a lot of them, they were like, whoa, like why'd she make this decision? And that kind of led into a lot of what God did through the rest of the year.
Yes.
And so then after that, we kind of just like, we'd go to church together, and we'd do Bible studies together at Common Grounds in Waco. And so when you were talking about the screen thing, so what actually the screen thing that happened we went to church at Wellspring the next Sunday after we'd gone to that first church service, and that's when it had love is patient, love is kind on the screen.
That's
and you were
right.
like, what is going
Yeah,
on?
so after we came back, it was like First Corinthians was being quoted on the screen, and I turned around, I'm like, is that like normal? Is that like an everyday thing? And she was like, they've never
had
had
that. Still to this day, I've never had that back
Yeah.
on the screen, but that was on there that day.
Mhm.
So that's pretty much the College Station trip story. And I think a really good way to close it out would just be me asking, like, I mean, Ainsley's a new believer, y'all. Like, this is like her first couple months really living for the Lord. And how would you say that your life's changed since making that decision?
I think like right away, like I noticed the way that I move to like through people in a way, like the way that I treat people and the way that like I interact with others is like so unconditional. And I just like that's such a big piece is like unconditional love and to look past people's sin or look past people's anything that they've done that might set them apart from others or kind of marginalize them. But in also like a way, it's like I don't judge people for who they are. Like I used to be the most like gossipy, like judgy person. And now I'm like, I find beauty in people's differences. And I'm like wanting to get to know people more than just like they're like outside and what they kind of just like say who they are. And just kind of like I feel like I have a little bit of like a pep in my step. And like I'm really I like getting up in the morning and like reading and going to church. And I'm so passionate about my faith. Like I want to tell everybody. And I'm unashamed to do so to just spread the word and like ask people for their testimonies in a way. And I'm so new to it, but it's just like so beautiful and like I just see light or see my life in a little bit of a different light. I find like things that I'm uncertain or worried about, I find so much peace in those things because I know the Lord has got me and that He has a plan for me. And I don't have to worry about those things anymore. So a lot of things have changed. I mean, there's very little things, there's hard things, there's big things, there's small things in life that always throws for a loop and we never know why. But I don't really need a reason to know why. I just know that God has a reason. And that's all I can be just as happy and content with that.
So. Y'all, it's been such a privilege to have, well, it's been such a privilege to know you, but like just getting to like walk, y'all, there's so much joy that just comes from getting to walk with someone alongside them in their journey to find the Lord. And it's been so cool just to like see you grow and like see the fire in you. Like it's so prevalent that the Lord just like has your heart, and it's so cool. And I'm just so grateful that we have this friendship, that I got to be a very, very small part of the story, just any part of the story. It's been so cool, and I'm so excited to see what God's going to continue to do through you, y'all. She's gonna do something big. Like I know it in my heart. But Ainsley, I'm just so glad you have been on the podcast, and y'all, we're gonna do an episode together. It'll be probably posted a little bit later down the road, but we're gonna talk a little bit more about love biblically versus now modern day love, just because that's such a big part of her story, and there's so much we want to talk about that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope you guys were encouraged to radiate your faith.